Yeah.
I can see you. Yep.
Oh, you want to stand? Okay, then I'll get out of the way here. Oh, hi, everybody. I'm John Summers, professor at the University of Indianapolis.
I am Maddie Awrey. I'm a student. I am now a sophomore at UIndy.
I'm Gracie Silcox, and I'm also a sophomore elementary major here at UIndy.
So let me start our slides, Gigi. There they are. And can you see that okay, Stacy? Yes, okay. You're good? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Obviously, this is Build a Better Book, and we so appreciate learning about Build a Better Book actually last summer. So we have been full in on Build a Better Book and Build a Better Game and Build a Better Poster. So you've met the three of us, and we're in Indianapolis, Indiana, at the University of Indianapolis, which is a private university. And I'm going to turn this over mostly to Gracie and Maddie, but all of our LEd students, we have a STEM elementary education program, and all of our LEd students take Introduction to Engineering in their first or second year. Usually in their first year. I have some freshmen in the class now. So, and I teach the Introduction to Engineering. And so in the Introduction to Engineering, we have implemented Build a Better Book projects. And you'll see some of these, and Maddie and Gracie will talk about what we've done in the field experiences. Do you want to? Okay, go for it. I'm just going to sit down.
So I took this semester last semester. I think it was probably one of my favorite classes I absolutely took. I'm a very hands-on person. So this technology and this STEM program that we're working with is all hands-on. And I think that's one of the reasons that I love it so much. Some of our favorite topics that we did this semester were Makey, Electric Circus, the Dashbots, and I liked Book Creator. Using all of these topics, we were able to connect them to the students and with our lessons, and we were able to use them to help learn our lessons. And for this, kids would do really good with this because they're all hands-on activity, and they'd be great ways to learn our lesson, but also learn technology and engineering and all that stuff we're building into it. So I think that it was a great class for us to take, and that's kind of what we're starting off with. So we went into two schools. So you're good. We went into Crystal House Academy, and we went to Stoutfield Elementary School. And pretty much what we're going to do for this is we're going to talk about each school and what we kind of did with the kids and what technology we used in STEM activities.
Alrighty, so I'm going to be talking about when we went to Stoutfield Elementary. We visited the fourth graders there, and we did Build a Better Poster, which was super duper fun. And it'll kind of tie into what Maddie's going to talk about with poetry and stuff that we did. Before building our better poster, we did a poetry unit with the children, and what we had them do was build a better poster surrounding their poem that they created. So we had them make a poster board using geometric shapes and different tactile things and stuff like that to just enhance the poster. And then we also hooked up our Makeys. And with that, we talked about things like conductivity, working with Makey and Scratch and coding and stuff like that. You can see here on the picture, you can see the little metal tabs that they use on their poster to hook up to the Makeys up to their laptops. It was really, really cool to see them get to do that and understand coding and some stuff with that. And they also, what they did was, you can see how they have like 3 different little tabs there. Each line was hooked up to the Makey and it would read it or do some sort of little like animation to go along with their poster. So it was really, really cool. They could bring their posters to life.
So pretty much these kids were building the posters themselves. So this was all of their artwork, which is kind of what STEM is growing into with STEAM, adding that A element of art. So if you can see in that picture, he's actually using a 3D doodle pen. We were also able to use this over this semester. Kids actually loved this because it's them writing it and drawing it, but it's creating it at the same time. So we were able to bring this into the field and do it with them as well. So in the next slide, here's them again, just using those posters. But here's the cool thing about the posters. They were not just posters, it wasn't just an art element. It was interactive using that technology. It's called a makey. So again, like Gracie described, they were clipping it into the poster board. So if they would touch the poster board, it would actually say something, which is what we're going to get into later. It's called Scratch. Let me go to the next page.
And it was also really cool because I had an English language learner and he could translate it through makey and Scratch into Spanish. And so it was really, really cool to make it even more inclusive and even more interactive. Or if you had it like a child that kind of struggled with reading, it could read it out loud as they touch it and they can follow along. So it's also really good for that kind of stuff.
So what we did with Scratch was we began coding with the kids. We taught them kind of the basics, but we were able to get them to program their poem that they wrote, which I will talk about again later, to match up with their postboard that they made. So this picture on the right, this was one of the kids that I worked in with my group. His poem was about an eagle. All the kids did animal poems. So we actually had them do some researching first about their animal. Again, something like this is really just getting them it's getting all subjects kind of built into this. So we researched a lot about animals and talked about facts. And what the kids did is they took that and we took it into making a poem. So this kind of has a lot of researching and reading in it. So once he made his poem on his laptop, you can kind of see the code that he did through Scratch. It's very faint, but it's kind of just this blue, it's just the blue tabs. When he hooked it up, you were able to hear the poem that he had written. The nice part about that after we did that was the kids were able to share their poems in front of the class and their interactive posters. Sharing for kids is an amazing thing, especially when they were so excited to use all this new technology that we were able to provide for them. So that was definitely a good thing.
It was also really cool to see because if you say you have a shyer student, they didn't have to read their poster. They could touch it and it'd read it to the class. So it was really cool to see like some of the kids come out of their shell and be able to present something that they normally would be too scared to.
You might say something about the shapes, and they used the shape to create the animal.
Oh yeah. They also used their poster was their poem, and then also to the side of the poem, they actually created their animal using geometric shapes. So we learned about the shapes, what's the shape, what makes this shape different from the other shape. And then they also added other elements like puffballs and using the 3D jeweler pen. Right? Yeah, tissue paper, all kinds of stuff. But yeah, we really focused on those geometric shapes as well.
Yeah, so if you can see in this picture, again, this kid did an eagle. And so he has a triangle for the head. He has a rectangle for the body. And he used rhombuses. And so we actually kind of just taught the kids their shapes in the very beginning. And then we were able to make an animal out of those shapes. So each kid had a different animal, and it was just really fun for them to do. Build a better robot and story. So this was at our first grade, Crystal House Academy. And what we
go back. I'm going to give a shout out.
Got it.
So we need to give a shout out to Gwyneth McCormick at the UK. And this was an idea that was sent in by us to secure a small grant through the Build a Better book, which we really appreciated. And Gwyneth was highly communicative, and she sent us the lesson plan and how she did it for kids with blind and low vision. And then we adapted it to our robot lesson plan. So big shout out to Gwyneth. We appreciate her support. Yeah, go ahead, Meg.
Alrighty, so I'll go ahead and talk about that. So we did Robert the Robot, and we created a hands-on robot together. Actually, us as LED students, we had to create like a robot. Yeah, you can see that I think in the next slide.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's
Okay.
me. That's me teaching my small group. So I had to build that robot out of
Velcro,
Velcro,
cereal boxes.
yeah, cereal
Cardboard.
boxes, cardboard, all kinds of stuff like that. And it had to be removable so that we could build it together as we talked about the different parts of the robot and the different shapes. They were first grade, so we've really focused on shape names and stuff like that. And twos. So we did like, they have one head, they have two eyes and two legs and stuff like that we really focused on as well. And we also, I don't know if you can see in that picture, it's kind of small, but I created these little booklets for them because we also had a story element along with this about Robert the robot and how he was like built by an engineer. That was right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I created these little manila folder storybooks where they glued each little strip of their story down, and we practiced reading it out loud together, and then we glued it down together. And then after we glued it down, we built that part of the robot. And then they also got to build their own robot along with the big robot as well, with some different shapes and stuff like that on some Velcro on the top of their story. And that was really, really cool to see them like interacting as, with the story in a different way as well. And then I also, at the end, when we had some free time, let them just experiment with the different shapes and see what else they could make from the shapes that were given to them on the Velcro.
Absolutely. So to kind of go along what we were talking about. Okay, so this is my group. You can see the worksheet at the bottom. I thought I had it on me, but I don't. So that's the robot we built. We're learning about shapes again. So you can see on the body of the robot, there's just a bunch of different shapes, and that's what we're teaching the kids. So right here, all I did was simply create a worksheet that has it. And I would tell the kids to circle every shape that they saw on the robot. And it has the names listed, so then we can just go over kind of the names with the kids to get them to kind of comprehend and understand the shapes of it. But here in this picture, the kids are actually learning how to use a bee-bot. It's this little yellow bee that you can see on the ground. The kids would program this bee-bot to make it move. We definitely, in the next picture, we're talking about it again. You can see I think this is your group again.
That's me again. What we did with the bee-bots is we were teaching programming. This was first grade, so I think using Scratch might have been a little bit over their heads. So to introduce programming language, we use bee-bots on grids. So you can see that the grid I made, and what they had to do was use the programming cards that I had made. I think it was like up, right, left, down, begin, stuff like that. And they had to write a program that would get the bee to the shape that they pulled out of a little baggie. And so we introduced programming language and stuff like that to just get them immersed in that.
So this is an example of a bee-bot. So I'm holding the bee-bot. It has cute little eyes. They actually light up as well. But this is where the kids would program it. They have an up and a down arrow, and these are actually they're the turning. So it'll actually rotate the bee, and then you'd have to go up again. So the kids would have to learn how to program this to get it to the shape on the board.
And they also learned like sequencing and stuff like that as well too.
Oh. Okay, the folding, here we go. So this is exactly kind of where we grew with them. So we just taught them basic shapes, but now we're getting into actually 3D shapes. So this is kind of what I did with my kids. We would teach them a rectangular prism, and I highlighted the rectangle to understand that, hey, this is a rectangle, but it's more than just one rectangle. Again, here's a triangular prism. I highlighted the triangle. So here you can see that the kids are coloring them, but we didn't just color with them. We actually had them cut them out, fold them to make them the actual shapes. Now this is where it got fun for the kids. I wonder if there's a next slide for this. Oh, that's an example of the story. But with the kids, once we made these 3D shapes, they were actually able to turn it into their own robot, just like we did. All of our robots were made out of the basic 3D shapes that we were learning about. And so the kids got to do it themselves as well and make their own robot using their own shapes that they wanted to use. So if we go back in this picture, this is kind of the story that we went along with. So all the kids in this group have two sheets. They have a picture of a robot and they have the words and the stories. And we're literally following along the words, adding our shapes in, adding everything, adding our circles, our rectangles. Just gets kids in a better understanding of all the shapes, but it also gets them reading and writing. So that was a lot of fun for them.
Ask Gigi if she's still there.
Gigi, are you still there?
Oh, I'm sure she is.
We're still.
Okay, we thought we'd lost you. Sorry.
No, we're all here.
We're here,
We're
but
gonna
we
have to
probably
have-
have to wrap up pretty
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah, we
that's
got
all.
1 minute.
We're
Yep,
done.
yep, we're done. Yep. But there's one more slide. A thank you to
Thank you
Build a
so
Better
much.
Book. Thank you.
Thank you. that was
Oh,
great.
thank you girls, did an awesome job sharing
Thank
that,
you.
what you did. That's fantastic. I love seeing, John, how you kind of brought this project into a university audience, but having the undergraduates help deliver some of this down into the elementary classrooms. It's a really fantastic.
But we're
fantastic
doing it
idea.
again this semester, so we'll let you know.
Awesome. You had those fourth graders doing a lot. That's a lot to do with makey and coding in Scratch. That's awesome.
They were amazing. Yeah. Well, thank you.
Great job.
Thanks,
Thank
Maddie.
you so much for sharing your project with us.
You're welcome.